The New York State Department of Transportation presents the DOT POD.
And welcome into the DOT POD. I'm Josh Heller.
And I'm Anya Cardos.
And we are delighted to have you joining us. Well, DOT's projects and initiatives are deeply rooted in our communities, but to truly meet the needs of the people we serve, we have to meet them where they are. And this principle is at the core of public engagement, and we're continually seeking innovative ways to connect with our communities.
And this brings us to today's special guests who are here to talk about DOT's groundbreaking I-81Connect mobile app. It is the first app ever linked to a DOT project, and this is our largest project ever, the I-81 Viaduct Project, going on in Syracuse right now, and that is where we are today. Please welcome Betsy Parmley, Project Director for the I-81 Viaduct Project, and TeNesha Murphy, Community Liaison and Public Information Officer on the project. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Hi.
you.
Thanks.
We always like to kick things off by learning about our guests. Please share a little bit about yourselves and your roles here.
Sure. Hi, I'm Betsy Parmley. I'm the I-81 Viaduct Project Director. I've been with DOT for almost 20 years now, which saying that out loud is kind of surprising. And I lead the team that's responsible for the delivery of the I-81 project, everything from construction design, community engagement, and everything in between.
And I'm TeNesha Murphy. I have been working for the Department of Transportation for a little over 2 years. And I started in this role that I'm in now as the community liaison for the I-81 Viaduct Project. And I absolutely love it. I get to engage with the community and help them understand in simple terms what's happening with this project. And I absolutely love it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, and we'll get into the I-81Connect app, but let's explore the I-81 Viaduct project in general. Now, my guess is that most people listening, most people in general in this area or in all of New York know somewhat about the project, but let's talk a little bit more about what the project is, what it represents, its significance to the residents of Syracuse and Central New York as a whole.
Sure. We like to say this is truly a transformational project for the city of Syracuse. It's not just an infrastructure project like DOT typically does. This will transform the landscape of Syracuse. Going back in time, this is a project that's been talked about in the community for decades. Before 2008, we've been actively studying and designing this project since at least 2008 officially, so over a decade. We wrapped up our environmental analysis for the project in 2022, and now we're full into construction and design. But why is this project so important to Syracuse? Like many cities in the Northeast, I-81 divided a historic Black and Jewish community. So this project, by removing the viaduct, and as the commissioner likes to say, the shadow that's over this community, we're reconnecting the community. We're making a more livable, connected community, more bicycle amenities, more pedestrian amenities. So it's really the impetus for change in this community, and really kind of fixing some of the wrongs of the past.
You know, I'm curious, someone who's been with the department for as long as you have and now in this role, that has to be, you know, it's a great responsibility, but it has to be a real passion project for you to be able to now see it actually, you know, boots on the ground, shovels in the dirt, viaduct coming down. I mean, to be able to lead this project and see it from its inception just as an idea to where we are now, that's a lot. That's big.
Yeah.
It is big. And I like your use of the word passion. I think everyone that's on this team has a personal passion about this project. I think you kind of have to, because it is such a large project. And it's really, I mean, there's sometimes it feels like the destiny of Syracuse is on our shoulders, which I don't know if that's entirely the truth, but it sometimes feels like that, because this is truly changing a community and righting some of those wrongs. So I think of this as a once-in-a-lifetime project for a community, and it's a once-in-a-career project for a civil engineer. It's kind of what we dream of as civil engineers, I guess, if you will, if we have dreams like that.
Have to be pretty proud, I would
say.
say.
Absolutely.
You're talking about, dismantling a concrete eyesore, the viaduct, and eliminating barriers on all sorts of levels. And a major part of this project was really steeped in community engagement. And that's where this kind of leads us to this discussion today about this mobile app, the I-81Connect mobile app. It's an historic milestone for DOT. It's the first ever app linked to a New York State Department of Transportation project. That is in and of itself very exciting. TeNesha, you really played a crucial role in this, in developing this app. Can you talk about the early stages of this, how this kind of sparked, and what this offers for users here in Syracuse and in Central New York?
Yes. Well, when I applied for the position, it was one of the things that I brought up in my interview is that, this project needs an app, just because I feel like that is, in terms of modern day technology, that's the best way to communicate with people. You see people all day long walking around with a phone in their hand, and being able to push notifications about this project to their phone is to me, it made the most sense to help people understand what's going on with the project. And another thing that I felt I was very was passion of mine was, I'm a Black woman, and this project, affected my community years ago and, through the generations. And so now I get to play a part in helping that and reconnecting these communities. And one of the things that I know about the community, again, they don't have a lot of the technology that some of us take for granted, like a computer, a laptop, and a desktop,
Right.
sometimes in their home. They don't have those type of things, and they don't have, access to internet in their home. But what they do have is they have their phone. And that is a great way for us to talk to them through the phone, through an app that's free. They download it. They have all sorts of other apps that they've downloaded. So this was just another way that I thought, this is a way I can help my community understand what's going on with this project. Because the people, just to give you kind of a visual of what it's like in Syracuse in this viaduct, runs through the middle of basically downtown. And you have your on the one side, on the south side, on the west side of the highway is the public housing community. That is the oldest public housing community in the state of New York. And then on the east side of the highway are hospitals, universities, restaurants, stores, so there's a big divide. This highway is dividing that. It is keeping the public housing side away from these other great amenities that we all of us who are more fortunate can enjoy. So, it was very important to me to help them understand, like, we're trying to change what we did before, and we're trying to make this better and reconnect these communities so that everybody can enjoy everything equitably. And that is that. So it was important for me to make sure we communicated to them in a simple form that they could understand.
One of the things I love about that is that, and you kind of mentioned it, the push notifications, things like that. So you get that app, and it's no longer I'm going and searching out what's happening with the project. It's the project is coming to you. The project is in your pocket.
Because that's part of equity that you were talking about, the information coming directly to you.
Absolutely. Yes. And it does. So there's a couple things, it comes to you, and you can communicate with us through the app. So there's ways that you can call us. It's literally a single tap of the app. You can call us. You can email us. You can find out, the nearest, if in your community, if the road is closed, or if a ramp is closed, to help you navigate through the traffic impacts that are out there because of the project. So it's really simply us reaching the person where they are. We don't have to go through the media anymore to get these messages out to the community. There's no more middleman. It's us talking to them.
Yeah, I'm a subscriber, and I get those push notifications. I don't live in this area, but I think it's such a great way to connect with people because it's immediate. I know it pops right up on my phone. It's right there. And it's got to be such a handy resource for people when they leave for their daily commute.
Absolutely.
You know what's in front of you. That is, in and of itself, it's genius. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. And I think what we try to do, we don't want to inundate people with notifications. And so we really try to figure out what is the best time to notify people that, tomorrow the ramp is going to be closed. So not one, if you notify them too early, they'll forget and be stuck in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
If you notify them, at the time of, that it's not helpful to them. So there's a lot, it's very strategic in our notifications to the community about this. But I think it has worked well. We've received feedback and people are like, oh, this is great. I missed, I didn't have to sit through, this traffic or that traffic, or I didn't have to take the detour because I knew another way around. That's another thing that I love about Syracuse, is that there are many places to get to anywhere you want to go. So if you do have the app and you get that notification that the path that you typically take is blocked in some sort of way, then you can immediately say, oh, I'll just take Townsend, or I'll just take Harrison, And so I think that that's what's been most helpful. And then also, people communicating with us, being able to call us, just to look at the app and say, let me call them and let them know there's a pothole out here. Let me call them and let them know that, I don't understand, I just saw something and I don't think that's right. Let me call them and see what's going on.
Oh, that's great. So people are engaging in a faster way now, because it's right there on their phone. Have you noticed that, an uptick in that? Just people responding in this way? Is this more?
They definitely we definitely have started receiving more calls to our outreach center. We've definitely get people communicating with us. I think they feel more empowered from the app. It's like, oh, they want us to talk to them. So there is that feeling of empowerment and in an uptick in emails and phone calls for us. Yes.
So we'll let everybody know, if you don't have the app, you can find it on your app store or in Google Play. It is I-81Connect. Again, Anya said she has it. I do as well. Even though we don't live in the area, it's still great information, because it's not just the push notifications. There's a ton of information on there.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about what else people can find on the app and the information that's available, and not just the information, just cool pictures and videos and more interactive type stuff to see where the project is, where it's going, where it's been, and what they can expect.
Absolutely. I mean, everything about the project is on this app. We have a project archives. Betsy was talking earlier about this project being, it's being, we've been working on it for years and years and years. We have a project archives that holds all that people can get through the app. We have renderings. We have information about each contract. So the way the project is structured, it's in 2 phases and 8 contracts. And so right now we are on contract 5. We have 5 contracts in construction right now, and each of those separate contracts are listed on our app. And you can go in, if you live in the Cicero area, you can go into the Cicero and look at those and look at the work that's happening there. And so I think that's what's beneficial to people. We give updates all the time. And another cool thing is that if you're looking to work on the project, if you are a job seeker and you want to work on the project, we have a link that you can fill out your information, and it lets us know you're interested, and we reach out to you and we help you get a job on the project. That's very huge. That has been a game changer here in this community with this project. So there's, it's all sorts of, it's everything bottled up into one. It's crazy how much you can fit into an app. Right. It's like, and it's right there on your phone and easily accessible to us.
And I think another important part about the app is it gives us some more credibility. So when we think about how this project has evolved from really the community talking about what do you do with this antiquated infrastructure, and having media take pictures of Van Robinson standing under the viaduct, saying, what do we do, to now they have that instant communication with us. What a difference time and technology, and it shows that listening to the community and speaking to the community has really informed this project all along, and how it's evolved over the years. I just think it's kind of I don't want to miss that also, that having an app and thinking back to 2008 and before, and where we were with technology. I mean, that wasn't even an option, right? So I just think it speaks volumes to how important the community engagement is to this project.
I still had a flip phone in 2008. I'm saying, this is making me feel a little bit old.
Right. I don't remember 2008.
Making me feel a little bit old. But I do want to ask, you talked about how there's been, more calls coming in. How has the app been doing? How has the reaction been and the response been, as far as, people downloading it and signing up and using it? Now, have you been able to tell, how successful it has been since its launch?
Yes, absolutely. So we launched it in mid-February. So we'll just say for, February 15th or so, we launched the app. And in 2 months, we've already gained nearly 4,500 downloads.
Wow.
For the
Congratulations.
app. Yes,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. And so, and it is, as soon as people hear about it, they immediately download it because they, we've been in construction now since 2023. The app we just launched in 2025. And so there, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, let me download that. So I know, what's going on when there's traffic impacts to me or delays. So that has been initially what our feedback has been, is that they love it because it helps them avoid some of the delays for travel. But yeah, it's been very successful, and we'll continue to market it. And the more every time we tell somebody about it, they immediately download it. It's like a no-brainer.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. And it's right there, as you mentioned. The project itself, let's get back to that. So it consists of several contracts, and DOT is right now embarking on contract 5. This is a major milestone. Betsy, maybe you can dig into that a little bit for us.
Sure. This is a huge milestone. So like TeNesha mentioned, and you mentioned, there's 8 contracts total, phase 1, phase 2. This is the 5th and final contract of phase 1. And why that's noteworthy is we've been working really hard for the past 2 years, building that infrastructure out, making some of those connections, so then we can eventually get into what I think of as the heart of the 81 project, removing the viaduct. We have to do a lot before we can remove a viaduct, before we can remove an interstate through a city. So contract 5 is when we actually start to take the viaduct down.
Oh, wow.
It's where we build the new business loop 81, bring it down to grade. So currently I-81 crosses across the city of Syracuse at an elevation. It goes, it spans across. We're bringing business loop 81 into the city. We're creating a winding road with street trees and decorative lighting and a new railroad bridge that has a wider clearance. It will be well lit. It won't be this dark tunnel that exists today. And it'll end in a roundabout at Van Buren, which is really kind of the gateway into the city of Syracuse. So it's important that we've completed so much work. We still have so much more work to do. But a lot of times we hear people say like, well, when does the 81 project start? And it's like, it's been happening for years. Go get the app. But I think, they don't realize it because they think it's just taking down the viaduct. So that's when we actually start to take down a few spans of the viaduct and start moving people around a little bit more, and their traffic patterns may change a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that, another thing, a fact about phase 1 is that we built out the infrastructure so that we could start taking down the spans of the viaduct. And so with that, we're going to be completing a couple of the contracts that we started 2 years ago, finish up. They're complete by the end of this year. So that's very exciting as well. It's like, we're moving fast. That's another major piece of feedback we get from the community is how fast we're working. I mean, we're building flyover bridges, roundabouts, we're taking stuff down. And people are really excited, and we it's very rare that we get someone who is like upset about the traffic impact, or because they're like, this is happening so fast, and there are minimal impacts to us, and so once we build out that infrastructure in phase 1, we can start really taking more of the viaduct down in phase 2.
Right, that's when people are going to really notice this big change, and they are seeing transformation, but maybe they thought that, oh, well, that's just something else. No, that's part of the larger
Because a lot of it took
project.
place, especially the early contracts, took place not in downtown Syracuse. They took place farther out. And so, yes, they were happening, and yes, they were impacting Syracuse, but they weren't visual to, people walking in the city.
But they are literally part of this project.
This city is going to be unrecognizable when we're done with it, with all of the modern upgrades that we make to it. It is going to be just, it's almost as if, typically on our capital program, we go in and we replace a bridge or we rehab a bridge. And, this is a fun, analogy I like to use. It's kind of like getting some Botox. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Little fix here and there.
Little fix here and there. But what we're doing is a whole facelift.
So I want to ask you this question then. You're here, you've been here for a while, you understand the vibe of the city. Syracuse to me seems so ripe for so many things. There's a lot going on here. Do you feel in your heart of hearts that this community is now ripe and ready for an incredible renaissance.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think just the physical landscape will change so much that this hulking, dirty bridge will literally be gone, and you'll see the sunlight when we get it in Syracuse. But there'll be bike paths and trees in downtown. This will be the impetus for change. I truly believe. I think it's already happening in the community. There's other projects that are happening in Syracuse, like a Syracuse Housing Project, which runs right alongside the viaduct. So I think change is on the way, and I think we're leading the way with the project. It's an exciting time to live in this community and be part of this community, because TeNesha and I are both live in this community. So it's exciting.
Now, one of the things about this project, we talked about its massive nature, is that it's not just going to benefit Syracuse and central New York, but it already is through workforce development and the project's local hire initiative. And TeNesha, we had you on. You helped me co-host an episode. It's probably a year or so ago now, but where we kind of delved into that, pretty deeply. And you can go back and listen to that. Shameless plug. But, the FHWA has even recognized this program as a national model for workforce development, right? Talk just briefly, if you would, about that local hire initiative and where you're seeing success currently in that program.
Well, the Local Hire Initiative was initially born out of community engagement. We heard very loud and clear from the community that they wanted to see people who look like them work on this project, especially if we were going to be in their neighborhoods. And so it was really driven by them. They brought it to us, and we worked with the community to develop a way for that to happen. And we did. It's called the Local Hire Initiative. And on each of our 8 contracts, the contractor is required to 15% of the work hours on each contract have to go to people who are locally hired. That's the goal anyway. And so it has been doing phenomenally well so far. I mean, the community advocates that were pushing this for us are blown away about how well we're doing with this. And, it has really made change in people's lives. I mean, when I go out there and talk to workers who are part of the local hire program, they say nothing but great things about it, and they encourage other people in the community to do it as well. I mean, construction is not for everybody, yeah. Because you are working in all types of different weather, and it is, some different work. So, but they definitely always say like how much of a benefit this is. And you can see it. I mean, I had one woman who, I asked her, I said, what would you tell other women in our community about working in this type of job? And she flat out said, the money is amazing. Yeah. She's like, I have 5 kids, and this has really helped my family. And so, just hearing stories like that. One gentleman, his father built 81, was part of the construction team that built 81, and now he's part of it taking it down. And so he talked a little bit about how it's come full circle for his family. I mean, it's just amazing, all the stories and all the people that we've helped in the community work on this project. And
I think one of the other things is it's not just a job. These are careers, right? Because there's training that's going into it, that this program is helping with also. And more than just that, the type of project that this is and the breadth and scope of it, they're going to be doing work and are doing work on this project that you just don't get that kind of experience elsewhere. So even when this project ends, and it will at some point, probably, when this project ends, these are still jobs and careers that they'll be able to have for their entire lives. Right.
I often think of the 81 Viaduct Project as it's not just a DOT project. This is a community project. So this workforce development, TeNesha mentioned heavy highway construction. That's a serious job. It's not for, it's not for everyone. So if we can get people on projects anywhere in our community, I feel like it's a win.
Some of the best stories that we hear from the community that really ignite us are the ones from the people who were around when the project was put up, or when 81 was built. So we have spoken to community members at community outreach centers. And you know, we're about 75 years ago, 60, 70.
These are people who literally grew up in the shadow of this viaduct.
And a lot of them were kids at the time, but they remember, you know, that red X on their house that said, your house has got to go. And, you know, there was no eminent domain where, you know, someone was coming in and paying you for your home. It was like, nope, your house is going to be taken next. So you need to go find somewhere else to live. And what's really sad is that the folks who were living in this community, they had a double whammy, so to say. I mean, they had to live in the area because of redlining, and then they had to leave the area because of the I-81 viaduct, because of the how we built I-81 through their neighborhood. So when you hear those stories of people who said, you know, I tried to march. I was in college at the time, and I marched for this, but there were no representatives in our community that could fight for us. And so, you know, our marches and our calls went on deaf ears. I mean, those are the stories that inspire you the most to make sure we do the right thing this time. We connect with the community. We help them. We understand what they need in their neighborhoods, what they want. You know, another big story that I love to talk about and is inspiring to me is how we were initially going to put a roundabout near the Martin Luther King school, and the community did not want it there. And so they told us, we do not want this roundabout here. And it's a great example of us saying, like, you know what? Fine, we'll move it. You don't want it there, we're going to move it because you live in the community. You don't, you know what you want for your family and these kids, and we understand, and we'll move it, and we'll make a connection for you guys across the business loop a different way.
Because that goes back to community engagement, but even deeper, on a deeper level, that goes back to empathy. You have to you really do have to take a walk in somebody else's shoes. You have to imagine yourself in their shoes. And that takes true listening.
Yes.
And I feel like there are definitely elements throughout this process that do show that, you know, a lot of times people look at a behemoth like DOT just coming in and doing this in my community. But this process was holistic in so many ways. And I'm not surprised that it's become a national leader or national example in so many ways. And do you feel like this potentially, more than potentially, that this has really will have a ripple effect, and that this will change the way that we proceed going forward?
I certainly hope so. I mean, not all of our projects have the opportunity that the 81 Viaduct has. I mean, we are truly doing enough infrastructure to transform. We don't do projects like this all the time, but I think listening to the community and helping them understand why we're doing what we're doing is so critical, and maybe finding new ways to do that instead of just our traditional means that we've always done it, like open houses or presentations. Go to the people where they are, right, is kind of how we think about it. And, you know, I think of some of the times on this project so far, just walking around the neighborhood with members of the neighborhood and hearing their stories, it resets me. It reminds me why we're doing this. So it might take a little bit longer. It might take a little more effort on the part of some of our engineers or our planners, but I think we'll end up with a better product, with the community being more engaged, feeling like they're part of the solution in the end. Everyone's a little happier with it, right? So I think it's how our society is kind of changing a little bit. So hopefully we can learn from the 81 project and apply it to some of our other projects.
Well, that'll just about do it for us here. First and foremost, we want to thank our guests, TeNesha and Betsy, for taking some time out of what has to be super duper busy schedules, but to sit down with us and chat with us a little bit more. Obviously, as we said, this is a passion project for you both, and that clearly comes through. And we really appreciate you talking a bit more about it, and again, for all the work you guys are doing on this major project.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, Anya, another one in the books, a good one today, and we will have the information on how to get the I-81Connect app on our description, so you can find it there. Or you can just go to wherever you get your apps and just look up I-81Connect, and you can find it. It's pretty simple. You should do it.
I did.
Anya did. I did.
I did.
You should do
it's
it.
It's easy.
So make sure to go ahead and do that. But more information will be on the description as well. So thank you again to our guests, and thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in wherever and however you may be doing so. We're certainly glad to have you on board. But that will do it for us. So we'll be back next time. She's Anya. I'm Josh. We'll be right here on the DOT POD.